This episode on the Vom Seymour playlist is sponsored by Phytovite. Phytovite is a daily canine supplement, adding vitamins, organic trace minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes, all in easy-to-feed powders you can just mix into their meals. Learn more at drschoicesupplements.com. See more and get more with Phytovite. When you're ready to check out, use promo code VS. That's V for Vom, S for Seymour. That code does not apply to items already on sale. Train hard and hunt easy with dependable style and comfort. Drahtco makes gear for serious training, testing, and hunting that's built for versatile gun dogs and the handlers who expect the best every time they step outdoors. No fluff or shortcuts, just dependable gear that works as good as you and your dogs. Shop now at drahtco.com. That's DRAHTCO.com. When you've got the gear in your cart, you're ready to check out, use promo code VS, D-R-A-H-T, V for Vom, S for Seymour. Don't guess how to train your dog. At Vom Seymour Kennel, the membership gives you expert training videos, weekly style tips, and simple checklists so you know what you need to do next to get real progress. You'll also get community support, and you can choose plans that include monthly coaching from Joe. Start building the dog you've been imagining by signing up at VomSeymourKennel.com.
Welcome to the Vom Seymour Podcast, your one-stop shop to versatile bird dog training.
In this episode, we have Clint Joesting from Drahtco, and we're going to kick this off with how Clint got started with bird dogs.
My grandfather was a big outdoorsman. I mean, it was every weekend. We were fishing or doing something in the outdoors, and I was just crazy about it. You know, I mean, just even fishing, I was crazy about, and Bass Pro and all the fishing shows, Virgil Ward and Roland Martin, and eventually then Real Tree came out and hunting videos and anything I could get my hands on, books from the library, magazines. I was just nonstop with it, and always loved dogs. And that was kind of my dream, was to get a hunting dog. I loved every kind of dog. You know, I would steal dogs that were strays for a while and act like I was training them until somebody drove by and, got their dog. And, but I just always loved dogs. I mean, it was just something that I was just drawn to. And when I was a kid, I would learn from the encyclopedias that we used to have. There was no computers back then, so it was encyclopedias. So I would get in there and read everything about the dogs and the sporting dogs and just kind of dream which one I wanted. And then eventually I got my first short hair at 12 years old, and I got it from my uncle. And before I got that dog, I read every single book that you can get from the library. I would read everything. I read like probably 3 or 4 different types of books before I even got my dog. And then I started training with a bird dog trainer before I got my dog, because I wanted to learn. I called the guy up and I said, he's got a kid that he's talking to, and asked him if I could come over and help him clean the kennels or learn how to train the dogs. So I'd get dropped off there in the summer 3 or 4 nights and just train with that guy, Ray Hickerson. And I trained with him for years and helped him train dogs, and just a big passion. I learned a lot from Ray, and Ray was mostly an English pointer guy. He didn't like the no-tails, is what he called them. He didn't like the short hairs, and All,
Yeah.
I mean, he liked them, but he would always tease me about them and call them no tails. But he was more of a field trial guy, horseback, and he trained a lot of those type of dogs
Yep. Dogs
back
that were
then.
running 400 or 500, 600 yards.
Yep, big time. I mean, he
Yeah.
had other kind of breeds in there, and it was old school training. That was before the shot collars, and you know,
I remember reading about some stuff, and you had your first dog was a beagle, so that was a
yep.
pretty good progression from the beagle to the short hairs to I don't know what you had in between, but now you got the Deutsch-Drahthaar. What made you make this jump to the Drahthaar?
Well, the so the short hair. So what happened was I got a duck boat in my 20s, and I always had the short hairs from 12 to I don't know, probably was 26, 27, 28 somewhere when I got that duck boat, and I thought, I think I might get a retriever, and but I didn't want to call just the lab guy or the Chesapeake breeder. So I found several different breeders that carried both of those dogs, the Chesapeake and the lab. So they tell me exactly the differences and what they liked about those dogs. And what happened is one guy, he goes, if you want a little bit more versatile retriever, get the lab because you can go upland hunting with them. You can throw bumpers, 1,000 bumpers a day, and that dog's still going to go get it with enthusiasm. And then he said, but if you want the best duck dog, get a Chesapeake Bay. They'll find everything, but they're stubborn, and you can't train them all day like you can a lab. They get bored, and they're pretty stubborn. And then he goes, but if you want the best all around hunting dog, get a German wire hair pointer. And I didn't even know he had German wire hair pointers. And after a few days, and I'm looking at my short hair, and I'm kind of feeling guilty about getting out of the pointing dog in the upland. So I called him back and said, hey, put that deposit that I had on that Chesapeake on the German wire hair pointer. And I rolled my dice, and it was amazing. I still love the wire hairs. I had several great wire hairs. And what happened was my breeder that I would get my wire hairs from, who was a different guy than I'm talking about now, but he retired from breeding dogs, and so I thought, I think I might try a Draht. And I had been training with the Draht guys for probably 20 years. Jeff Hinkey, I'd go over there. I got a couple of other buddies into Drahthaars from my dogs.
What year was that?
And I met what's that?
What year did you get
That
that
was
first
probably
Draht?
the first Draht. Well, I bought a couple Drahts when I had 5 dogs, and the wife didn't want me to have them. So like the first Drahts were probably in 2014. But what I did is I co-owned those dogs with my cousins, and so they took them off my hands because the wife was like, "You can't add a 6th dog," But the other dogs were getting old, so it was time. So I figured out how to still get those dogs and still be able to hunt with them and train with them and that kind of thing. So I gave those Drahts to a couple cousins. But the Drahts I've been around for 30 years since Jeff Hinkey had his first A litter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what he's on now, but we'd go over there and train with him, and I like those dogs too. And I thought, well, it's time to try a different breed. And I did it, and I love it. So my first one that I kept was in 2020. And so I've had 3 since 2020.
And how many litters have you had?
I've had one.
One, okay. Oh.
Yeah, only one. I've had some issues with getting the second one planned. So I've got a female that she doesn't come in at the same time every year. And it might be September once this year, and then September next year, or it could be she was in September and then she comes in June. So it's just so hard to plan.
Yeah.
So, but I'll have another litter here soon.
What got you started in the gear, the apparel, all that kind of stuff?
I just wanted to be in the dog business somehow. And the the way I wanted to set it up was to encourage people to get their dogs out, training, hunting. They're only here for a short period of time, so I think it's important that people want to do these kind of things. I've had so many people in my life where they went on a hunting trip, waterfowl trip, and I said, "Did you take your dog?" And they go, "No, I didn't want to deal with it. I was hunting with different people, and that always drove me nuts. Why wouldn't you take your dog hunting? It's a hunting dog." Just because if they were embarrassed of the level of training, they didn't have the right equipment, they didn't have the right mindset to get that dog into certain situations, because they're not going to get any better unless you do those things. So, I just wanted to try to find some certain equipment that would make their life a little easier in getting those dogs out there. And we're still building that portion of the website and the business. So we'll start adding more things as we go. But on the apparel side, I live the lifestyle year round. It's not just during hunting season. You can't wear a camo everywhere. And I just wanted to, have an apparel, some clothing, some hats with dogs on it that I like and that I know other people like. But basically how that really started was there was a hat I bought, and it was of a German wire hair or a Drahthaar. I can't remember what it was. But everywhere I went, they asked me, "Do you have schnauzers?" I got schnauzers. And I heard that probably at least 10 times from that hat. So I wanted to have something that didn't look like a schnauzer. I have no problem with schnauzers, but I wanted to have a logo that you could tell it's a hunting dog. And that's kind of how it started.
Walk me through, what are some pieces of equipment that I'm going to need to make my excursion easy, comfortable, a better experience?
There's a Dakota decoy blind, and it's got two sides. One side has a gate, and it allows you to pull a string to open that for dogs of different experience levels, so that dog will not break. The other side, you can unzip it and use it just like a regular blind. That is a huge tool, because most people in the waterfowl industry are not dog people. It's hard to believe, but there's a lot of people that are outfitters, buddies, that I've come across that they don't like dogs. They think the dogs don't do anything for the hunt. It's another thing to hide. They don't want to deal with it. And it's gotten me on hunts, even though my dogs have been steady when I take them, but I'll use that blind and I'll show them, "Hey, just so you don't have to worry about the dog breaking this kennel, that dog cannot move. So you'll never have to worry about it. I'll send them when you want me to send them. I'll do anything to get my dog on a hunt." But that's probably one of the biggest things that we have right now, that I would say people would need.
And it sounds like they need a little of Joe's training assistance as well.
Yes. I mean, some of these people, they've trained dogs before. They just kind of give up. And I do think Joe's training is huge because it trains people. I find that is more important than just training that individual dog. I know people that every time they get a dog, they just send that dog to a kennel and the dog's gone, but they still do not have that knowledge. And I think that knowledge is important because training continues to go, through that dog's life. They're not 100% perfect until they get a little bit older, and every situation's different. And that knowledge that an individual can get is huge. I mean, because you're going to need to know how to train sometimes on a hunt. Even though that dog's been through a dog trainer, there's things that you have to know to get that dog to the next level and keep progressing that dog so they're even better. Once you get in, you could be nervous when you're getting on a hunt, but they eventually settle in and they start figuring it out. The handler starts figuring things out. And then after you're done, it's like, man, I'm glad I did that. Even if the dog goes and you only let him retrieve one of the ducks, you know, it's still a big deal to get that dog some experience on a real hunt.
Well, like those goose hunts that you have on Facebook all the time, Drott. I'm telling you, when you have those out there, man, they're so fun to watch. I want to go on one of those goose hunts one day because those dogs going through that flooded timber is just pretty cool.
Yeah, the goose hunt's amazing. I mean, and that's a tough hunt, for a young dog. I mean, because all the dogs are in the pit, so they have to be trained a bit because they're not going to see the ducks go or the geese go down. So they have to be trained, for blind retrieves and that kind of thing. But I would still take young dogs on those hunts. I've done that, and you just got to get out with them more, when it's slow and get those dogs, helping them try to figure that out.
Yeah, learn how to get through those decoys without getting held up by them.
The decoys, some dogs at first, because there's 6,000 decoys on those snow goose hunts.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and sometimes you can't line them up perfect to go on a straight line because they can't get through all the decoys, so they kind of meander and however they can get in there. But it's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing. Once they figure it out after a couple retrieves, they're like, they're pros at it.
right.
But
Yeah.
it's incredible, and the amount of retrieves you can get on a snow goose hunt is incredible. I mean, I had two dogs on one hunt, and one was a young dog, and I was out of the pit, laying on the ground more because the more geese were coming in, and those hunters were still shooting. And that dog picked up probably 30, but I was so stressed out because I was stuck in the decoys all day. As soon as you get ready to go get another bird, you're ducking down again. So I put that dog up, and that was her first snow goose hunt, and she picked up 30 birds, but it was still kind of frustrating. She was still learning. And then I got the older dog out, which I can stay in the pit, most of the time and direct her where to go. And I mean, she picked up over 100 that day. So it's incredible what a dog can get in some of these hunts. If you can get your dog into these hunts, it is worth doing it, and there's ways to do that, with outfitters if anybody's interested. But, I always, if I have to, the last resort is I get a bunch of buddies and we buy the whole pit. So if it's a 5-man pit or a 10-man pit, I get that many people so I could take my dog. Because a lot of those outfitters to get in on these kind of hunts will not let you take your dog, generally, unless you have the whole pit. So I usually get the whole pit until they see the dog work. And then I'm usually, like the situation I'm in right now, I can come by myself every single time, even if I don't know anybody in that pit, because they like the dogs. And this guy that has that snow goose place is not a dog person. He used to be a lab guy or have a lab, but he just does not. He doesn't want a dog until he's started seeing my dog's work. So, but it's incredible what you can do on a few hunts.
Well, so what does he do at the end of the night, end of the day? Just go pick them all up by hand without if you don't have a dog?
They pick them up, yeah. They just walk out there. They got an Argo and they pick them up. And so one of his guides loves when I come down because it saves him so much work.
Hmm.
And or the hunters will all get out and go pick up all those birds and that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
they get it figured out.
I was gonna say it's be like going upland hunting and not taking your dog out and being able to enjoy the pleasure of watching the dog point the birds and retrieve them. I mean, I would just soon stay in the truck.
Me too. I don't think I would upland hunt if I didn't have a dog. I mean, that's
No.
why I got into upland hunting was to watch the dog. That's my favorite thing. I mean, I go hunting all the time and don't shoot a bird, but I watch the dogs. We get into hens or we didn't get into any birds, that day. And it's every time I get back in the truck, I was like, that was worth it, even when I didn't shoot anything, just
Yeah.
because you get the dog out.
Yep. I
You
agree.
know,
Hey, I want to back up a little bit, and I wanted to talk a little bit about your website, and just wanted to tell you how impressed I was with some of the stuff that you're putting on there. And I think we should let our listeners know exactly some of the stuff that's on there so they're aware of it. Um, So let's just talk about your VGP checklist and some of the things that you've put on there recently that can help people training their dogs for these events.
Yeah, I put that on there because everybody has their first experience with this stuff, and I just wanted to have something handy to help them or motivate them to do a VGP or an ACP, just to shorten the learning curve a little bit, and mainly because a lot of people come to the training day and they're kind of shy. They really don't know what to do. They don't have an idea, so they have to ask a bunch of questions. So if they can get one question answered by one of those checklists that they don't have to ask, that's why I put that stuff up there, is just to help a younger or less experienced handler have a little bit more confidence when they come to training days and want to do those tests. Because if they do those tests, they're going to be with their dog more. The dog's going to most likely end up as a better dog if those handlers have that knowledge. And I just want dogs to be out there. That's why I like the testing, because it keeps me out there all year round. That's
Clint, where do I find this on your website? What we're talking about here?
That would be on the Hunting Dog Hub on the website.
Got it.
And you can find all that information in there. HCP guide, HCP checklist. There's some knob to test checklists, VGP checklist.
And how about your little list you got in there for the kids? That was pretty neat.
Yeah, I just thought if a kid can learn something, because I was that kid. I was that kid in the encyclopedia. We don't have encyclopedias. That's why I put the breed guide up there for all the different breeds, because that was so important to me growing up, that I know there's somebody out there that is looking for that, or they're looking at a different dog that they can go check out and read the descriptions of those dogs, see what they look like. In the kids corner, I just want kids to get into it. I mean, it's what we do, right? It's what you love to do, what I love to do. It's almost it's almost an addiction, but it's a good addiction. So, if we can get some kids learning, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, and when you get started early, that helps you sharpen that skill even more.
Yes, big time.
No different than starting your puppy out at 8 and 10 weeks old versus wait until they're, I wanted to wait till they were a little older because I didn't want to screw them up. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that one. So start early,
Yeah.
Start with them at 8 weeks, start exposing them, and start teaching them early, because that's when they're young like that. That's when they can catch on fast.
Oh, big time. And it's amazing what they'll learn. People don't realize what those puppies can do. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, doing drags with an 8-week, 12-week-old puppy, I mean, they will do it. If they're bred right, they will do those kind of things. And I'm a firm believer in that. Getting them out, walking, and getting in the water, the smells, chasing birds, butterflies, what have you, smelling the deer tracks. And I think that is so important.
That water thing is really super important, I got to tell you, because if you wait till they're a year old and they really haven't swam, and now you think you want to get them swimming, they're just so apprehensive. And if you can get them in there at 10, 12, 14 weeks old and just get them enjoying it, the whole rest of their life is going to be better because of it, because your retrieving will be better, and they're just going to be easier dogs to train.
Oh, big time. And, and a lot of people think they have to, do some, if the dog doesn't go in. I mean, my biggest thing is that I find a creek bottom with water in it, and I go walk that puppy, even if it's 8, 9 weeks, and I have them follow me, across the creek, maybe the first couple times. And then the next trip I go out with the dog, we walk down the center of the creek and find some deep spots. And after a while, they don't take long whatsoever. And that's kind of how I train the dogs in the water at first, is, shallow water like that.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing of it is, at that age they want to be with you, and they're not gonna let you go. Oh, we gotta
No.
get with him. I gotta follow him. We had this. We had the same thing happen this weekend. I took a couple puppies to this pond, and I got in the kayak, and the one swam like Mark Spitz, and the other one was really apprehensive. And well, me and Mark went swimming, and the other one couldn't take it after about 10 minutes. Finally came in and followed along.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's fun when you see them with the lights click on, and now they're in the water all the time. It's great. I love it.
Clint, I'm looking at your hunting breed guide and all the different breeds here. This is awesome. You got some nice pictures here. I'm going into like the breed profile, some good information. This is cool, man.
Yeah, yeah. That's like I said. That was kind of like the encyclopedia kind of setup. That's kind of it was a picture similar to that, and then underneath it was a description of that sporting dog, and and that's what they called them back then was the sporting dogs,
Hmm.
and that's where I would start learning about different hunting dogs and dreaming which dog I wanted. Before I even had a dog, I just would go to that encyclopedia all the time. We didn't own the encyclopedia, so it was every time I went to my grandfather's house, I would get into those encyclopedias and look at the sporting dogs, and that was every single time that I went to his house that I did that.
Very cool.
So I just wanted it up there for people to learn. If they see it, I really don't care what kind of dog someone gets into. I just want them into it. I don't care what breed they like. I'm still going to hunt with you. And so if they like something else, great.
I've had a guy over the last year or so. I've been helping with his Brittany. Well, I've learned to really kind of like this little dog, and I'm jonesing for one of them one of these days.
Yeah, they're nice dogs. Um, I've hunted with a lot of Brittany's. I've always liked them. Um, and the French Brittany's are pretty cool too. And um, I mean, English Cocker Spaniels. I don't know if you've ever hunted with those. I hunted with some of those in Florida and Georgia, and I'm like, holy crap, those things
Yeah,
are awesome.
they just
Just
run.
little speed demons. I mean, they're
I
just
know.
darts running around.
Yeah, you can't help but laugh when you're running around watching those things. It's like, holy cow, look at that little thing
No,
go.
I love them. It's just like, holy crap.
How the heck does somebody decide what dog to get? You've got all these different dogs that do great things.
People have so many different ideas what kind of bows they like, and I know what kind of bow I have and what I like, but the same with the dogs. People kind of go by the appearance, or hey, I don't want a high ranging dog, I want something that's closer to me, and that wording in there, medium range dog, or stays close or goes far, has long hair, has short hair, has tail, has no tail. That's kind of how that I think people
Hmm.
decipher what they want,
Where do you
or
live?
what kind of hunting they do too.
Where do you hunt? Where do you live? Yeah. Are
Yep,
you in Are you in
and that
Alaska or are
that
you in
plays a big
Arizona?
part. Yep, yep, yep. So that's another thing that people have to think about is what kind of hunting they want to do.
Let's talk more about your gear. Hats, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, collars for dogs, blood tracking, vests, blinds,
Yep,
health stuff for dogs, health
yep.
supplements.
We're still adding, but I will tell you, the first thing I did not want was a website with 70,000 different collars and different colors and sparkles, and because it's just overwhelming, at least to me, when I go to like a supply, hunting dog supply, and just trying to get a collar, I'm so confused by, okay, this is biothane and this is this thing. And what I'm trying to do is find what really works and that I know customers are going to like the collars. I don't think you're going to find too many that are better than those collars. Just the way they'll last, they're cleanable, they're not going to crack. Um, but that's kind of how I wanted to set this up with some of that gear, because I just didn't want a bunch of junk on the website. I don't want to sell every single thing just to sell something. I want it to be beneficial, you know, and that's just kind of what we're trying to do going forward, and find the companies. And right now it's amazing how people run their businesses, to add these kind of products. So it does take some time. I mean, it's like, some of these companies are big name companies. You call them, and you might have to call them 5 times to get their product, or I'm going to call you back. And sometimes I just don't add it because I go, if you're going to do that to me, it's going to affect my customer or the customers. And so we're weeding out some of those places. And we've ran into several different companies that are really good, but they just don't. I don't get it. I don't get how they run their businesses the way they do sometimes. So
I see you've got check cords, waterfowl game carrier, a puppy starter kit. Lots of cool stuff in this collars section.
there's two things that I really love. Is the first one is the 10-foot puppy check cord. And when I got that, I didn't even think too much about it. It's like, yeah, that's cool, right? But once you get in your hand and you start using it with a young puppy, it is incredible. And it's also good for when you have a dog that you're training on the long line for anything, but they're getting, they're getting a little bit more trustworthy, but still not fully trustworthy. You can also put that 10-foot on, go from the 30 to the 10, so you can still have a little bit of control. And but I use it all the way through my training. That puppy thing, it's awesome. I mean, it's just awesome. And then that game drag, which is the pocket lead, I like it more for the game drag because, I mean, it will pull anything through the timber, over logs, through anything, raccoons, foxes, heavy game, and it's not going to break. And I've used everything from shoestrings to this, and then they break or you lose them, and that's hard to lose because it's blaze orange. But I do like those two items a lot.
And it doubles up really nice as a lead for the breed show.
Yes. Yep. I have used that for the breed show too. Yeah. I love that thing. It's just, I kind of wanted to find things that you can use for multiple things.
I'll tell you one other thing it works for is so I had my knee replaced there 7 or 8 weeks ago. I've been using it for PT for stretching out my leg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, it's great for that. You should be able to sell it on different sites now because it's
I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that to the description. Another thing that can be used for. So I think that's great.
I'm looking at your vests now. These are pretty neat. You got some handles on here to grab the dog if you need to grab the dog for whatever reason.
So you can get them back in the boat. Those are really important, depending on what kind of boat. But, I hunt out of a kayak quite a bit, and you got to have that to get the dog back in safely. Because, I mean, sometimes where you're kayaking, the water's very cold or moving. So I hunt a lot of rivers with the kayaks, and it's easy to pull the dog right back in the boat without tipping the boat.
And then the blind, that's what you were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, that blind. Yes. We're sold out of those. Those keep selling out. And I think they had a delay because they are, I think they're changing stuff, on their design and that kind of thing. So we'll be adding that in the future when they get those back in stock.
So keep an eye on that.
But yeah, that blind's great. I mean, it's just, once the dog gets experience, you can unzip it and use it like a regular blind, if the dog's steady, but until they're learning. And that thing too, is I've trained dogs on that, and to make them steady, because they might be steady in the yard or in the field, but when you get real action, birds flying, dropping, I keep that dog in there for maybe, depending on where I'm hunting. But if I'm hunting in a flooded corn or somewhere where the duck's not going to float away, I'll let those ducks sit out there for 5-10 minutes sometimes until that dog's fully calm and they get used to hearing the shots, and we shoot more, because those ducks aren't going anywhere. So we might shoot a few more ducks and they just hear that gun and they just kind of get relaxed, and they know that they're not going after that gun volley every single time. And after a while, you can just turn that blind to the other side and they just are steady by themselves because they know they don't go until they're sent. So it's also helped me really steady up a dog on a hunt with that blind.
And Joe's training is going to do a lot of that stuff, and that blind is only going to help that trained dog, uh, do what you need it to do.
Exactly. I mean, because you're training all the time. I mean, the real experience of a hunt is going to drive some dogs crazy. They could be they could be fully trained, or do you think they're fully trained until you get on a hunt? When the excitement, the smells, and the gunfire, and people hooting and hollering and high fiving. Yes, that's just another tool after the training.
I was going to ask you how often you went out in the backyard and set your blind up and put some launchers out there and started shooting pigeons out of your launchers with those dogs laying in your blind.
Yeah, I hear you talk about distractions, Joe. Get those distractions in there early and often, right? As you're training.
That's why I was asking, if you ever go in the backyard and put some pigeons in the launchers and let your dog lay in that blind and just practice a little bit.
We have done that, yeah, in the past, and using dead ducks, but I haven't done that in a while. But I do use, I forget what it's called, oh, thunder something. But anyway, it has like, and it's not the same as a live bird, but where you're shooting off, you can shoot off 5 different dummies from it, 6 different dummies, and but once they get used to that, it's just still not the same as
Right.
as the thing. I mean, if you had a lot of pigeons, sometimes they can get expensive, but yes, we have done that for sure.
It's actually kind of fun to train for. I
Oh
kind of
yeah,
enjoy
I
it.
like it.
You can set it up and you put those launchers out and you start quacking that duck quack on that dog tree launcher, and then you start pounding the birds out of there, and man, it can be fun.
Oh yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I may do in the future for sure.
So when should people look and check and get their hands on that blind from your shop?
I would say probably August or probably September. So I would say it would be back in stock in September is my guess. Yeah, and if they get it done, if they get their designs done and roll it out sooner, then we'll get them back in stock.
Tell us a little bit about your health section.
The health section, well, that's still new. We're going to add different things, and but that distributor, I like the things that we're selling there. They work for sure. I won't put anything on there that I haven't tried myself or my dogs. But we stumbled with that company, and we will be adding some more things here in the future in that health department.
Nice. I'm seeing ear wash, aches
Ear
and
wash.
discomfort.
Yep. Yeah, that stuff is important, especially on like if you're doing a lot of hunting or you go on a trip. That's mainly when I use that. Because if you're doing it day by day, those dogs will wear down and they are sore. If you're hunting, every weekend and then you go to South Dakota for a week, those dogs, or Iowa or wherever you go, those dogs are going to be worn down. So I like to give those at the end of the hunt, and so they can rebuild and be ready for the next day.
Glucosamine?
Yep. All those together, the glucosamine and the aches and pains, I give together during that time. And it's also good for old dogs. I had a dog that was older, and I gave them the glucosamine, and it really, really, really worked on that older dog. So, but it also works on the young dogs.
Well, and the one thing about Clint and his Draht company, they're always very generous at all the events. You go to the Arm Rooster and Clint's got 25, 30 shirts and hats for everybody. I'm like, everybody's got the Drahtco stuff on. So we appreciate all the stuff you donate, Clint. It's very nice.
Yeah, I love doing that. I like to make those events fun, or chapter meetings, where people can bid on stuff or silent auction. I've always, it's been my favorite kind of thing when I go to Pheasants Forever banquets and all those different things, is to go see what's on the table, and it just adds to the event, and I like people to have fun. I think people should have fun and get out and because I want them to come to these things. I want them to go there. And if it's a blank table, some people go, "Wow, it's just this," and I'm not going to come this year, and that kind of thing. If there's a group of people that donate and do those kind of things, it's pretty
Right.
fun.
More participation.
Yes.
So shopping at
Yeah.
Drahtco is supporting the Draht community.
Yes.
What else is in the works? What else are you planning that you can talk about with your shop online, drahtco.com?
I think I'm gonna add more learning and motivational things to get people over the hump. There's people out there that I just can't do it, or they're scared, or they're embarrassed, and that's a lot of reason why people don't get their dogs out there and hunt them. Or at training days, you'll see people that just don't get their dog out because they're kind of embarrassed. And there's no reason to be embarrassed, because that's why we're all there, is training dogs. I want people out there training dogs. I mean, every dog that we take there, even though we've had experience, that dog is, still in the learning pace, and they're going to mess up, and we all go through it. So it's better to get out there. But I just kind of I want people in it. I want people in this, in this dog world, in the hunting dog world. And I want the dogs out. I don't want the dogs left at home. I want the dogs out doing what they should be doing, what they were bred to do. And if I can help with that and get these people out with those dogs and make it more of a year long deal instead of just hunting season, where they're just left at home and they don't really get out until hunting season. If I can get people training with just one nugget there, on one of those pages, then it's worth me doing it. So, but yeah, I think that's kind of where my head is right now. And all that stuff that I did was very time consuming. I'm not good at tech. I'm terrible at it. I've messed up so many things. I've erased pages on the website and had to rebuild the website, doing those kind of things. And I was told not to do it, but I'm doing it anyway because, I was suggested that you should just keep your website, a business website, and don't clutter it with this kind of thing. But I'm going to do it anyway, and we'll see where it goes. But I think that's more important to me, is having some learning along with, the gear and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where my head's at
When
on that.
I started perusing through your website, I thought there's some really neat information on here, and I was impressed. So I think everybody should check it out, and it's worth your time to get on there and look at the stuff that you put on there, Clint. And everybody appreciates it.
Well, I thank you. And I love doing it. And hopefully there's some other tests that I'm not familiar with, that I'm going to be working with people to get that information. Or maybe I'm going to have to go do these tests, like, what is it? Nostra and a few different things. And I might even do some retriever tests so I can get more firsthand knowledge, and then work with somebody that's professional to add that stuff to the website. So that's kind of where my head's at with that. So it's going to be that some of that's going to be time consuming, because I'm going to have to go on the road and learn myself before I write it,
I like to think, and I believe, that clutter ends where organization starts. And I think you've got a well-organized website here with your store, your gear, hunting breed guide, hunting dog hub, kids corner, like we talked about, all that stuff. You've got blogs, a little bit about you guys. So I think you've got it well organized. So I wouldn't ever say that this is cluttered or getting cluttered, as long as you keep it organized.
Yeah, I think it was more, if they come, if you confuse them, or not confuse them, but if you distract them to the learning pages instead of the sales pages, they might, people may not go to the sales pages, but that's like when I was talking to some website designers, because I was stuck on some of this stuff, and that's who were telling me. I didn't know them. They didn't, and they would say, I think you just need to add more pictures, and you need to do this, and this is what I recommend. And when I told him what this was, I just kind of gave up on having someone do it, and I just put my head down and learned how to do it. And I'm so glad that I did that, because I learned a lot, and I kind of built it more, how I wanted it, instead of them sending it to me. Nah, you need to make this change, and sending it back, and then they send it back to me. And so I just sat there and did what I did. So hopefully I'll make it better. There's gonna be different. There's gonna be changes. The biggest thing is I got to go through everything I've added all the time to audit, because some businesses, they might have an issue where that they don't have that information. So it might be a blank, whatever you want to call it, tab on my website. So I got to continually go through there, check that the website is linked to the proper information for people. So,
and you might be able to run that through AI and have AI check links and get back to you on what's not working and speed that up.
I might do that. I've looked into that. I've looked into it, but I haven't added that yet.
That's coming fast. That's coming fast. That's coming at us fast.
It is.
It's making things easy.
Yes, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere.
It allows us to be more human and not get swept away in the data.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
With that in mind, do you think, Clint, there's a chance that you might be doing websites on the side now once you get yours completed?
No, never. Nope. Because I've got to have a passion for it to do it. And if it's just like a candle company, I don't think I could get into that. I don't think I could do that. But if it's hunting, I could probably do it.
Well, you've deleted a few things, so you've probably learned from that, so you won't do that again.
I will do it again. Because I don't know how I deleted it. So
I see.
I'm like, how did that happen?
So you have to be very careful, and you got to remember everything you do. And next time you delete it, then you note it, and that's what I did.
Yeah. So what I do, what I do now is, what I didn't know is that when you're changing these websites, you do it on a duplicate. So if it does erase, it's no big deal. So I was not doing that at first. And
well, there you go. That's a big move forward, right? No leap.
That was it. Yes, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do this before. Because doing the duplicate's really easy. You just duplicate the website, and you go work on it, and then you roll it out if it's right, and if not, you just redo it. You delete that one and do another duplicate. So it's pretty interesting. I've taken a couple of weeks off it. I was on the computer forever. I mean, 15-hour days or more from, just sitting at that computer. So I've taken a little break, and I'll get back on the informational probably in a week or two.
Clint, if I put my email in down at the bottom of your site, join the hunt, what do I get? What am I going to get in my email?
You're not going to get much right now, because I don't like spam. But when I do roll something out, like new product, or maybe some, I'll probably do some of the informational, but I just never want to just hit you with spam every day, and so we will do more. I've only done one thing on that, just because I don't like spam myself, but if you put on, there's a pop-up right now, there's 20% off if you do put your email on there. And then, so that's a benefit, at least for that. But going forward, we'll probably do it a little bit more. It's going to be more informational. And like I say, if one person gets something out of it, I'm happy.
Yeah. So people going on there and going through that information and learning, what breed do I want to get into? All the tests, VDD stuff. Buy a little something and support all that, right?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. We'd really appreciate it, and we'll add more things. And like I said, hopefully a lot more different dog breeds, and see where that goes.
Train hard, hunt easy. What is it? What do you mean by that?
Train doesn't necessarily have to be hard, but life's hard, and getting your dogs out and train means quite a train hard means quite a few different things. And sometimes you may have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the church lot or the school lot or somewhere close where you can train your dogs before work. But if you do put the time in, and basically is if you do put the time in with your dog, when you get to hunting season, it's going to be easy or you're not going to be so frustrated, because I have seen several people really frustrated at their dogs over the years, and just because they did not put the time in to train. And that's basically what that means.
What would you tell someone out there, Joe, that is working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or working 40 plus hours a week, and they want to get into this? Can they make it happen doing that?
I mean, seriously, if you want to work your dog for 20 minutes or half an hour in the morning and 20 minutes or half an hour at night, you can turn that dog into a rock star. Clint, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that big time, because that's how I had to do it,
Yep.
because I worked so many hours at my other, my former job. And I'd get up at 4:30, and if I had to drive, and especially in the summer, drive a half hour, get there right when the sun's coming up around 5, do my training, run back, run back home, drop the dogs off, and then go into work. So I think 100% that could be done. It doesn't always have to be on the weekend, and it doesn't have to be a full day, because a lot of people, you do get burnt out if you have to do full days every single time you train. And so what happens is people just kind of give up on it. I don't have the time this week because I don't have 8 hours, and I can't drive 2 hours here. And, so if they put the time in through the week, just little bits and pieces, and then once in a while go to those longer training days, you're going to have a really good dog.
Yep. Even just a guy in town can get away with it. Maybe you go to an open park or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just expose them. Get them out, do some stuff with them, get them moving, and then, like you said, then maybe on the weekends you take them to a big field where you can do a little more free run or some pointing work
Yeah.
or something like that. It's not that difficult.
No, it's not. But, and I've talked to people. I go, what? You're going to have pain one way or another. So you either choose your pain, or you're going to have this frustration that you're having with this dog, that you continue to have with this dog, because and it's not the dog. I mean, it's not the
Yeah.
dog's fault,
Yeah.
and so you're getting mad at the dog, but you have to put the time in. You have to find ways to make it happen. So, because do you like this feeling? I've seen people super frustrated. Go, do you like this? Because this happens a lot,
Right.
and you just got to get out of bed a little bit earlier. A lot of people, they give up in that force fetch or train retrieve, whatever you call it, and they struggle with that portion of it.
But there's one thing I
A
can
little
add.
bit.
I can add to that, and then I've seen it over the last 25 years. A lot of times, that particular dog that guy owns matches the personality of that person. And
Yeah,
and I've seen it from a guy that was high strung to a guy that was kind of mellow and was like, no big deal. And then it's not that way every time. A lot though, they take on similar
yeah.
traits.
It's like residual energy.
Yep, yep,
I believe it's true.
yep. I
But
agree with that.
yeah, hey, it's been fun. Clint, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate you joining us and telling us about the Draht Company and all the cool stuff you have on your website, and all the stuff you do for the VDD, GNA, and the donations you make, and especially you helping all the young people out and trying to get them in hunting, because when it comes right down to it, that's what it's all about, is getting the young people into it and trying to carry on tradition that that all of us enjoy, and and appreciate you joining us. And it's been a pleasure.
Yep, same here. Loved it. Thank you very much.
Our next podcast is going to be with Ben Bredigan from Onyx.
Yeah, it's good. I use Onyx.
All right. Well, carry on, bud. Take care.
Train hard and hunt easy with dependable style and comfort. Drahtco makes gear for serious training, testing, and hunting that's built for versatile gun dogs and the handlers who expect the best every time they step outdoors. No fluff or shortcuts, just dependable gear that works as good as you and your dogs. Shop now at drahtco.com. That's DRAHTCO.com. When you've got the gear in your cart and you're ready to check out, use promo code VS, DRAHT, V for VOM, S for Seymour. This episode on the VOM Seymour playlist is sponsored by Phytovite. Phytovite is a daily canine supplement, adding vitamins, organic trace minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes, all in easy-to-feed powders you can just mix into their meals. Learn more at drschoicesupplements.com, because your dog is more than a pet. When you're ready to check out, use promo code VS. That's V for VOM, S for Seymour. That code does not apply to items already on sale. Get in on a training system that's been proven to work. With a VOM Seymour kennel membership, you get access to exclusive specialized training videos, easy to understand training tips, and trackable checklists, all so you know what to do, when to do it, and why it matters. You'll also get community support, and you can choose plans that include direct coaching from Joe by phone, text, or video. Get started on the path to building a dog you can trust in the field by visiting VomSeymourKennel.com. That's VomSeymourKennel.com today.